G'day and welcome back to the Upside Fantasy Sports podcast. This is your matchups analysis preview for the weekend. It's round 24. We're deep in the throes of Supercoach and NRL fantasy draft finals, guys. Head-to-head classic finals. So sit-start decisions, captaincies, vice-captains, super important. No matter what your settings are, you'll be in finals now, effectively. Because there's no way you're doing, unless you do 25, 26, 27, which would be crazy, but I just don't think those people are out there. So, yeah, I hope if you're listening to this, you're doing well. If you've been knocked out and you're still listening, then I double appreciate that. It means a lot, probably for your classic sit starts. The other week, I posted some outcomes from round 20, was it round 23? Or might have been, it was round 22. Round 23, we saw some guys convert on those matchups. We saw a lot of the Panthers boys deliver really well. We saw Kalen Ponga deliver really well. Interestingly, Tommy Turbo flipped the script. The data wasn't stoked for him, and he had an incredible outcome, so that was great for Turbo owners. Guy Drinky dropped the ball. He had a great matchup. Remember, he also literally dropped the ball, which affected his matchup. So we're seeing that conversion, that accuracy be pretty solid, especially when you're making informed decisions now. I'm going to kick off today with just a little insight to the team I'm rolling out in round 2 of the final. So I won my first knockout matchup pretty comfortably in the end, thanks to that Panthers game and my Panthers stack, as you can see here. These are the scores from last week. I've lost Laurie this week, and I've got a really tough decision to make. Do I start Connor, Tracy, or the Hammer? Because I think Ero is too safe of a bet. He has a good matchup too, and I think To'o, he also has a good matchup, and I just can't not start To'o personally. So I have a really tough sit start out of Tracy and the Hammer, which will be not very enjoyable decision to make, because one, they're playing each other, and two, whichever one I choose to sit, I bet the other will do quite well. So losing Laurie means I have to bring Dylan Brown in, and I can't really afford to hold Luai on the bench because he would just be a VC, an AE nightmare. So yeah, look, the team's shaped up pretty nicely. It really rides on my captain, vice captain options of Cleary and Tedesco. Everyone else is solid, but you can see there's no real guns there apart from To'o. I've loved the uptick of Ero, but yeah, I don't know if we can trust him to keep scoring tries. I've loved him converting those high base games into high scoring games the last month, but you need to play him as if he's going to score you 50, and you just take those higher games when they come, which is what I'll be doing. I think he's a good balance with To'o, because if To'o goes well, Ero brings that baseline up, and if To'o goes average and they both go average, then you get 50-50, and that's fine. That's better than a low floor guy. So that's the team I'm running out. Feeling pretty good. I think it's between me and my best mate, really. He's got a really gun team, and I think we're going to, as long as nothing crazy happens, but say things pan out in a conservative, middling manner, I think we meet in the grand final. So it's my team. Guys, game 1 is Panthers v Storm. It's one of the most spoken about matchups of the round due to how many people rely on Panthers players, and I suppose due to Hughes and Eli Katoa's success, as well as maybe Harry Grant owners. Well, not so much Harry Grant actually, but those two. A lot of the owners of those players are going to be in finals, because Hughes has been the most consistent gun performer, hasn't really suffered the injuries that a lot of the other top guys have. So I suspect a lot of people are watching this with a lot of interest, as well as people that own Cleary. Dylan Edwards returning. There's a lot of Taruva, To'o, Tungo owners as well. Yo owners that are in finals due to their consistency. So this is a really big one, guys. There's a lot of differing opinions. People think Panthers are going to dominate. People think Panthers are going to win, but it'll be tight. People think the Storm will get them. There's a couple things in it for me. And again, when it comes to these top matchups, it's really hard to pick, and you've got to play your best players. So I'm not sitting any of my gun players on account of the matchup, and there's a few reasons for that. One, it's Thursday night. Two, neither team's been incredible defensively. They've been good, but they haven't been absolute lock-up. What it does mean is the fringe operators, and I'll say this, the Casey McLeans, even the Tungos, they're the options to sit. They're the guys you say, are they really going to dominate? Is it going to be much more than just a try that they put down? Is there going to be multiple line breaks? I just don't necessarily see that. Then the next question is straight up captains, and what does that mean for vice captains and whatnot? Matchup proof players to an extent a little bit Jerome Hughes, pretty clearly Nathan Cleary and Dylan Edwards and Isaiah Yeo. You play them and they're perfect VCs. The elite matchup here for Ryan Pappenhausen, I don't know if that conveys. I would just be really careful with Ryan Pappenhausen, but just given what he probably looks like in most teams, he's probably still a VC. I would just be cautious with that and what else I'm doing there. Guy like Harry Grant with the poor matchup, I think Hooker's a dead spot. You're going to play him. I don't think he's a VC though. I can't see him going too much more than 80 at best, but we'll see. Just running through the matchups for people listening. Panthers, elite matchup with the right 2RF, which this week's Liam Martin. So he's a great plug and play. If Liam Martin's available, I love it. He should play 80. He should tackle himself to a standstill, and there is a bit of upside close to the line off Nathan Cleary. Right winger, Brian To'o, currently great matchup. Huge for us To'o owners that there is a little bit of statistics to back up the trend that you can see of the Panthers going right again with Nathan at the helm. So it's big for those To'o owners that he has a good matchup. Not from an NRL sense, the Storm are solid, but just he's a good player, been playing well, and has a good matchup. That does bode well. Left 2RF, great matchup, which this week is Maverick Geyer. I wouldn't be running to grab Maverick Geyer, but in really deep leagues, you could probably do worse. Hooker, good matchup. Lock, good matchup for Isaiah Yeo. Then you see how early it becomes neutral for the left winger, Taruva. Then it's bad for the front rowers, bad for left centre, Casey McLean. So really staunch outing here for a lot of these players. The Panthers do have the favour, but it's not worth mentioning. It's not a significant amount, and they're dominant down the right. Like I said, for the Storm, we've got elite matchup with Pappenhausen. How much you can trust that, I'm not totally sure. Good matchup for the left winger, neutral matchup for the right winger, and then it's poor for the right 2RF, the front rowers, and the hooker. And then it's bad for the right centre, bad for the lock, and tough for the left 2RF, Sean Bloor. So I'm avoiding those middling Storm players here and looking for better options with more upside for sure. Just before we leave that game, I've left it on the screen, but just with Nathan Cleary, if you don't have better, you just captain him and just back him. If you have better, great VC and you get ready to loop. For game 2, it's Sea Eagles and Warriors. For the Sea Eagles, gun matchup with the hooker, which is irrelevant. Left 2RF has an elite matchup, pretty much irrelevant. Right 2RF, Ola Kawatau, more relevant with a great matchup. Front rowers, great matchup. Left centre, great matchup. Fullback, tough matchup. Left winger and right winger, poor matchup. But I would be backing the wingers and the fullback, especially here against the odds here because, or against the data here because the Warriors don't have much to play for, and I don't think they're all that much chop. So yeah, lock and load all your Sea Eagles attacking players. They've got a solid discrepancy in favour of them, which is really great indicator. And then they're dominant down the left and the right. So the edge is predominantly the Sea Eagles. For the Warriors, they're dominant in the middle. Their gun matchup sits with the right 2RF. Great matchup for the fullback and the right centre. Good matchup for the lock, the right winger, the front rower. Bad for the hooker. Tough for the left centre. Poor for the left half. You know what to do with your Warriors, boys. You play your best ones and you avoid your fringe operators. Game 3, really exciting here. Gun matchup for the right winger for the Roosters and fullback for the Roosters. Teddy has a gun matchup, so just really exciting for Dom Young and Tedesco owners. Only risk with Dom Young is his hamstring, but I think if he's named, he's good to go. And I'd be confident playing him because his upside's too juicy, personally. This is Roosters Eels, I should have said. Left half, elite matchup for the Roosters. Right half for the Roosters, great matchup. Great matchup, lock. Right 2RF, great matchup. Tough matchup for the Roosters, front rowers. Poor matchup for the Roosters, hooker. Huge discrepancy in favour of the Roosters. By all accounts, it should be a bloodbath, and the loss of Maddo does add to that, guys. I just think that middle, I just don't know if it can hold up against that Roosters mobile, aggressive pack. I just can't see it happening. I don't want to be too prescriptive because anything can happen in footy. Like we saw the Eels basically dominating the Panthers to an extent, and then things changed in 6 minutes. So anything could happen, but there's Roosters off a bye. The bye often means that people are fresh, but they're often clunky. But I just think with the momentum the Roosters pack can generate through the middle off Watson and Smith, I think looking at the data here, we can see that it should be a Roosters night out. And then the Eels have no resilience, so if it starts fast for the Roosters and they get up, yeah, it could get ugly. Trying to think of upside for the Eels, and I just don't see it. now they've, with that pack just diminished one layer deeper, it's just grim. So then for the Eels, the Roosters dominate down their right side. So Joey Manu, right to RF, and Dom Young, Teddy sweeping that way, and Sam Walker presents terrifically too as a great matchup on the right half. For the Eels, elite matchup hooker, great matchup left to RF, great matchup left winger, neutral matchup right and left centres for the Eels, tough for the right to RF, which is Cardi, bad for the fullback Gutho, bad for the left half Arcee, and bad for the lock. And I think it's also bad for Dylan Brown. So just be wary with Dylan Brown in some instances. He could be a sit-in classic, for example. The Roosters are pretty balanced in where they're scoring Supercoach points. Game 4, Bulldogs, Dolphins. This will be Saturday Arvo. Really tough spot for me, as I mentioned, with my sits. We'll get to that in a sec. For the Bulldogs, though, gun matchup for the left to RF. Kikau, the right half. Toby Sexton, the left winger. Elite for the front rowers and elite for the left centre. The right to RF, Preston has a bad matchup. The right centre has a poor matchup. So all these guys running at Herbie and whatnot. Fullback for the Bulldogs, Connor Tracy, poor matchup. So it's interesting. They do have a massive discrepancy though. The Dolphins have been pretty leaky. The Bulldogs, they have all the left stuff, but they are dominant right. So it'll be interesting. How does their dominant right go against the defensively strong Dolphins left? So it'll be really curious to see. For the Dolphins, gun matchup for the front rowers only. Great matchups for the hooker, lock, left to RF. Neutral matchup for the right to RF. Bad matchup for the left centre, the right half, and the fullback Hammer. So with my situation here with Tracy and Hammer both having bad and poor matchups respectively, I need to ask a lot of questions. The way I see Hammer is a guy that he'll get you 35, 40 without a try. It's not great. He's not a massive work rate guy like a Chance Nickel Clockstad or a Dylan Edwards. But he's honestly one of those he's like a worse version of Latrell, and it just takes him 10 minutes with 2 big line break plays where he's sniffing around for a offload, or he does a kick return and breaks line where he just turns that score into 70. That allure makes him always more feasible than a guy like Connor Tracy, who isn't going to break the line from his own half that often, But the Dogs have a massive discrepancy. The Finns can't defend, and the matchup here for a fullback is poor based on the fullbacks that the Finns have faced recently, in respect of the fact that Tracy has a solid work rate. He's only one attacking stat away from converting on that base to deliver you a solid Supercoach score. So really I need to ask myself pros and cons. Dogs probably have the upper hand. They probably do win. Tracy more likely to get involved, but from a player perspective, Hammer's just far more talented. So I'm really in a conundrum there. The problem is, it's game 4, so I can't even wait and chase upside and go for Hammer because he's more likely to score 100 plus. I just have to sort of see where the gap matchups are. Do I just want to have a safe 50 from Tracy, or do I need to chase like 80 from Hammer? It's an absolute nightmare, this one. Absolute nightmare. The form of the Dogs is really tempting to just get a piece of, because I've got a few slices of the Dogs and just sit the Finns player. Maybe, it doesn't really matter, and I take an AE. I'm in a tough spot there, so I'll get off that one though. Game 5, Cowboys Raiders. Lock for the Cowboys, elite matchup. The front row is elite matchup. Left half, great matchup. Right centre, left winger, both have great matchups for the Cowboys. Right winger, bad matchup. Hooker, bad matchup. Left to RF, bad matchup. Cowboys dominant down their left, which is Murray Tuilagi and Val Holmes. For the Raiders, right centre, elite matchup. Front rowers, great matchups. Fullback, good matchup. Right to RF, good matchup. Good matchup, left half. Tough matchup, hooker and left winger. Neutral matchup, lock. And the Raiders are sort of dominant in the middle of the field. It's a small discrepancy in favour of the Cowboys, so this could go either way effectively. You've got to back the Cows attack in here against the sort of mediocre Raiders, but the Raiders are a bit grittier. I don't know where their season's at. The Cowboys are really got to fight, so yeah, maybe you back the Cowboys. I don't know what to make of this one. Trinky's matchup individually on this one is... it's pretty good, so if you're a Drinky owner, have a bit of faith. He's been really good this year, Drinky. Yeah, he has lower games, but he was just literally so close to having another good score on the weekend. I think you got to back him. He drives all their creation on the sweep and with his speed. So, yeah, best of luck for Drinky owners. I never spent much time on the Raiders. What about it? Move on there. Game 6, Tigers Rabbitohs is a really interesting one because both teams are kind of mediocre-ish. The Bunnies have been better than the Tigers. For the Tigers, though, great matchups for the hooker and the right winger. Front rowers, good matchup. Left, centre and winger, good matchups. It gets tough for the right centre, poor for the right 2RF and the fullback. What should I say here? Yeah, Tigers, you're not probably relying on many. The sad thing is the left 2RF Fine, who doesn't have a good matchup, but I think he's kind of, he got that try assist come through late. Like, I'm happy to play him in my front row as a front row too, as an edge back row, regardless of matchup. He's a forward. As long as he gets enough runs and tackles, he just needs a little bit of upside. Tigers dominant in the middle. For the Bunnies, gun matchup with the left half, Jack White, and the left centre, Tane Milne. Elite for the right 2RF, right winger, left winger, fullback. So really tasty for the Rabbitohs backline, as you can see. Poor matchup for the Rabbitohs, Lock Cam Murray. Neutral matchup for the front rower and neutral matchup for the hooker, which is okay for... what's his name? Damien Cook. That's okay for Damien Cook owners. Bunnies are dominant left now and a bit of middle too, so that's good for them. Getting off this one. Actually, I'll just double check because it finishes at elite. I'll just run through some of the other ones for you guys. Right 2RF is mentioned elite. Fullback, left centre, left winger, right winger, left half, right half, both good match. So it's pretty much that full back line for the Bunnies. We're just green lighting it if you've got them, and hope you get a bit of the benefit there. Game 7, Dragons Titans. Dragons lock elite matchup. Left centre, right centre, great matchup. Fullback, great matchup. Right 2RF, good matchup. Left 2RF, good matchup. Left wing, bad matchup. Right wing, bad matchup. Hooker, tough matchup for the Dragons. So yeah, a bit of a mixed bag there. Noteworthy advantage in front of, noteworthy discrepancy for the Titans over the Dragons. Both teams are hard to predict, like what they're going to throw up week to week. Like the Dragons look gritty sometimes, and then the Titans look amazing in attack sometimes, and they just can't defend, like we saw on the weekend. So really tough. Dragons are dominant in the middle, Titans are dominant left and right. So the edges, Foran drives the right success, and the left comes from a Calm Pereira and Jaden Campbell. So the Titans matchups, it's gun matchup for the lock, elite matchup for the hooker, elite matchup for the right half, left 2RF elite matchup, great matchups for the front rowers. It gets tough for the left winger, left centre, and the right winger. So sort of better in the middle of the field, so to speak, for the Titans around the Dragons pack. Game 8, Sharks Knights. Right centre gun matchup, left half elite matchup, left centre elite matchup, right half for the Sharks great matchup, right winger for the Sharks great matchup. So bodes pretty well. Looking at that for that right edge, which is Ramian, Atkinson, Katoa. The left, it's okay there. Elite matchup for Ero we like, and elite matchup for Trindle, who if he comes into the side late if he's deemed fit, that's really good. And even if he doesn't, I think we saw Stone Street scored 1 or 2 out there, and Nero had 1, so it still looked all right for them against the Titans. And the Knights won't be as bad as the Titans, but I don't think they're going to be amazing either. Pardon me. Just continue on the Sharks. A hooker, good matchup. Left 2RF, bad matchup. Lock, tough matchup. Right 2RF, tough matchup. But I wouldn't put too much stock into those bad matchups for the Sharks. Big discrepancy in favour of them boys, like really solid. So Sharks should go all right here. Dominant left and right edges the Sharks. So you like your centres and wingers for these Sharks. This one as the matchup here sort of predicts. And the data for the Knights, they're dominant down their right. Effectively, thanks so much to Gagai's stability, Frizzell's upside recently, and Fletcher Sharp's smashing upside. So really recent influence of data, like swinging their left and right sides. Just a really upsetting weekend for Marju owners when on paper it looked awesome and just didn't happen. The ball literally never went out there. Matt Papalangi scored a try out there, but yeah, it didn't look great, guys, and sadly, so I think Marju, if you need to AE and clear your bench, don't be afraid to drop Marju. I think at this point in the finals, he's not going to be a difference maker, especially in this round. You might be able to get him back, but he's a guy I will be open to dropping to convert a bench score on an AE, like a high bench score, if I have to. For the Knights, it's grim. There's not even a good matchup. It starts at neutral, guys, so just be wary with your Knights outside backs. Left centre neutral, hooker neutral, fullback Ponga neutral is good for Ponga owners. It gives you a sniff. Poor matchup for the right winger, but I also like Fletcher Sharp more than I like the data telling me that. Tough matchup for the lock, left 2RF, tough matchup. Bad matchup, left winger, which is Marju. Bad matchup, right centre. Bad matchup, left half. Knights are dominant down the right. Huge discrepancy in favour of Sharks. So really like the Sharkies to finish the weekend. I wouldn't be, as a Ponga owner, I wouldn't be scared off by that, but I wouldn't prioritise it, that matchup for him. I'm going to pull up some questions that'll be rolling in late. Got a few. Thanks for getting in late, guys. Forgot to flag the questions post on my Twitter because I've just been doing a lot of other stuff this week. Hence no TLT potty. So let's go. First one. Hey Hudzo, another elimination final. I need some help with the VCC. What's the stats saying about who to pick from these four? Edwards v Storm back from injury, Karaz v the Finns, Lomax v the Titans, or Ero v the Knights in form? Thanks. All right, let's just kick it off by saying straight away, you got to like Ero to finish your weekend as a safer C because he could just get 50, which gets you 100. So if your VC flops, it's like, well, what you could do is keep it on Ero if you need it safe, like if you're dominating through other parts of your matchup, for example, or you pivot to Lomax, who is in the game before. Now, he does not have a good matchup, Lomax, but his backline does, and I just expect him to kind of probably benefit from that. But I would prefer Ero personally until if you need to hit that kill switch, because Ero is probably not going to go over 100, whereas Lomax could still get 120 in a loss because he's just that type of player. And you need to try to kicks goals who might have a line break or two. They're not going to be able to defend Lomax that well, I don't imagine. So I would go Ero for safety, but I'd have Lomax as my backup C if I need to chase. From a VC perspective, Karaz v Finns or Dylan Edwards. Just going to look at the data. Karaz, not a great matchup. He's playing against that stronger Finns left side, the Herbie Farnworth defense. So that gives me pause, whereas the left edge has the matchup there for the Bulldogs. And Dylan Edwards, not a good matchup, but it's Dylan Edwards. I just see a world where Dylan Edwards chimes in for a try assist or a try, and you've got to get that work rate. Even against the Storm, he's only like one play, like one try assist away from hitting 80, 90 as a VC. Hope for more. I couldn't. Oh, but then Karaz plays the Finns. Like, it's just crazy. He could have a field day, mate, because the Finns are just dog shit. But it's Dylan Edwards, I couldn't live with myself. Regardless if Karaz pops off you, it's going to help you win. I would just go VC Edwards because it's Dylan Edwards. He's a fullback. And I would captain Ero as a fullback, and I'd be ready to pivot that captain to Lomax if I need a bit more upside. I would just be really flexible on Sunday about that. Because if Karaz pops off or even Lomax pops off, that's just going to help you win anyway. That's your CT dubs firing. And Ero's just like that high floor guy in theory. He's been really durable. I love Ero. Not that I don't expect Lomax to have that work rate either. I don't know, I just like Ero in the matchup against the Knights. He has the matchup too. Lomax and Ero just flip a coin, but I think you got to go Edwards there and just hope Karaz hits 120 anyway and don't worry about the captaincy part of it. I hope that helps you, mate. I know it's tough, but that's just the way I'm sort of like thinking through the process and how I'd ride the weekend. If Edwards goes, how Edwards goes, that helps you get that mindset too. So if he goes well, as VC, you can either loop him or just, sick, Edwards hit 90 plus, like great. That's going to set me up for a good weekend because then you can make your decisions trickle off the back of that. Next question, Kinney versus Hopewadi versus CNK for this week. Look, Kinney doesn't really have a great matchup, but check Hopewadi. He's left winger. He doesn't have a good one either, but you'd want to fire him up. And Kinney always has the issues with potentially like coming off fold, mate. CNK does have a good matchup, but I think the Warriors are tapped out. Mate, how do you not play Kinney? He's so electric. I just have to go Kinney. I don't like a winger in the fullback spot. I just take Kinney there. I expect he'll play 80. I think he's proven himself, and old mate. I think we'll see something else from Brimo, whether it's hooker or centre or... Yeah, I know you'd be worried about that. Look, it's Kinney for me. You're just going to have to be wary. Do you want to have that stress of his minutes being impacted by Brimson? I think you just go for it with him, but that's just me. Don't think you can... the Warriors... SJ's back. But it's Manly's are rolling, man. Manly's rolling. I'd have to go Kinney there. Sorry, mate. I know it's super tough. I get why you're asking because I'd be thinking the same thing. But for me, it's Kinney there, mate. Still, I just think he's a bit too talented, and the Dragons aren't much chop, and and the halves of the Titans have good matchups, which leads me to think that the creation should be there. Okay, next question. 12 team finished first. 12 team league. Finished number 1, playing first finals this week. Need to start 3 of Ponga, Pappenhausen, Ero, Garrick, and Manu in one. Oh man, this is why you don't have these leagues with 2 CT dub leagues. Like, it's so, man, you guys have got to get rid of 2 CT dub leagues, all of you. Minimum 3. Like, that's just crazy, man. It's the most abundant, fun position. You don't have 2 of them, guys. There's so many CT dubs. You meant to have minimum 3. Like, there's so many fun. It's so fun rotating game, like picking on CT dubs. That's all the matchup fun of it. Like, if you just have 2, it just leaves you to heartbreak. It's all it equals is frustration. Yeah, everyone's got good ones, but then it's just frustration week to week when you sit the wrong guy. Like, it's not fun. What you want to have is 3 guys that give you a lot of joy, and a 4th guy you get wrong that you go, oh, well, I'll just punt on this. So sorry about that. I'm favourite, so erring on conservative side. So thinking Ponga fullback, Garrick and Manu, keeping it simple and play your guns. Also, should I captain one of those players or David Fafita? Thinking Fafita, hopefully a safe 70. Man, I'm not playing Pappenhausen. I don't think he's healthy. Yeah, I'd fullback. Let's start with fullback is Ponga, 100%. Okay. Then it's out of Ero, Garrick, and Manu. Manu, because of Dom Young's matchup, I have to play Manu against the Eels. I just have to. He's had another. So yeah, played and then he had a week off, and he's playing again. I play Manu, and yeah, Garrick, I think, to kick goals in that dominant team. Yep. So you've nailed it. So Ponga, Garrick, Manu, that's fine. Just Ero, he's amazing, but you just play like the other guys, right? Like, you just do it. He scored 3 or 4 weeks in a row. Ero, you just kind of could probably justify it with. Probably doesn't score again, does he? Like, he hadn't scored all year, and then he scored 1, but he scored a bunch in a row. So I get the sitting of Ero when you've got Garrick and Manu, who are top guys. I get it. Now, with your captain, yeah, I think Fafita has a good matchup, and I think you're right. I think he gives you a safe floor of 65. I've got no issues with that, mate, because then you're letting those other guys hopefully pop off. I couldn't probably captain Ponga against the Sharks. Have been the stingiest team recently. I don't love that. He'll probably play well, but then that just helps you. I think a lot of people don't realize going conservative just means that if the other guy pops off, it may not win it. Like, if your captain popping off only helps you bury someone or counter their elite captain popping off. Otherwise, getting 65 from a captain is like, it's not great, but if those other dudes do well, they still boost your team by X amount. Like, it's amazing. So I totally get that, mate. I'd probably do the same thing. He's got a matchup. Like, I'd just go for it. Let those dudes pop off. Good luck, dude. The next one, but get rid of the 2 CT dub league next year, please. I need to sit one of Tracy, Sammy, and Marju. Who do I sit? On the matchups and everything, mate, I'm sitting Marju. He has a bad matchup and he didn't get enough ball. And I guarantee you sit Marju, I guarantee he scores 80. But on what we've seen on the field the last few weeks and the matchup, I'm sitting Marju, mate. That's what I'm doing there. Playing Sammy and Tracy. That's it for questions. And that's it for the potty. Guys, another just clenching round of footy coming up. I really hope everyone wins their matchups. Hope you get those decisions right. I hope this potty was helpful. It's really crunch time. Yeah, bring it on. Yeah, if you're in the Discord, we'll chat, boys. Thanks for listening. Sorry if this was a little labored. Just trying to get it done, get it out to yous. Yeah, best of luck, and thanks for tuning in. Chuck a like if you're on YouTube, all that good stuff. It does help me out. Talk soon, guys. See ya.